Devon put out a video recently kind of detailing his experience whenever he found out about me and the rest of the biological family. So I was just going to make a quick little video about my perspective and what happened with me. So as Devon mentioned, you know, he was born, he was put up for adoption, the parents went their separate ways and then reunited later and got married. And they got married. They had a daughter who is my older sister. And then 2.5 years later, they had me. And, you know, as things often go, years later, they got divorced. So they got divorced when I was about 8 or 9. And my sister, my mom and I moved away. We moved about 6 hours from where we were from. So anyways, let's flash forward. I'm now about 15, and every day after school I always went and played basketball, and I'd play till the sun went down and, you know, come home and figure out dinner and go to bed, whatever. Well, I remember Mom was like, hey, I need you to come home after school today. We got to talk about something. And, you know, in my 15-year-old head, I'm like, well, one, it's not a priority. There weren't any phones. I didn't have a reminder. But I'm like, if it's that important, she would just tell me right now. So a couple days went by of us not having this conversation. And little did I know that my mom was going to be getting this, you know, something really big off of her chest and telling me kind of a life-changing thing. You know, hindsight is 20/20. So anyways, I stayed home, and I remember we sat down at the dinner table, and like no television on, all quiet in the house. I'm like, man, something's up. Like, what happened? What's going on? And she says something to the effect of, well, I've got some news for you. You have a brother. And I remember this. I'm like, what? Like, how did you have a baby without me knowing? You know, like, I know I have ADD, but are you serious? Like, and she's like, no, dummy. He's older than you. And I still remember, like, just everything running through my head, like trying to figure out how this happened. And, you know, she proceeds to tell me that her and my dad had him, put him up for adoption. And, you know, I'm like, well, okay, when are we telling everybody else? And she's like, well, you're the last to find out. So when my sister had turned 18, they told her, like, hey, you have a brother out there somewhere. So, anyways, they tell me this, and they said, do you want to talk to him on the phone? I'm like, yes. And apparently, and I don't remember this is what everybody says, they say that my first question to Devon is I asked him if he had facial hair, which is hilarious. And I don't know why that was the case, but yeah, so I asked him, you know, do you have facial hair? He's living in a completely different state. I don't even think at that time in my life I'd ever even been out of the state. And yeah, we had a quick conversation, and he's like, I'm gonna come down, I'm gonna meet you guys. So, you know, we'll get more into that in his side, but yeah, that's how I found out about Devon.